What happens when the best athletes in the world lose? The Secret to Victory is a podcast from Gatorade and Gimlet Creative about how the best athletes in the world use defeat to fuel a win. Episodes feature Serena Williams, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Matt Ryan, J.J. Watt, Karl Anthony Towns, Kyle Schwarber, and the people who know them best. We recommend you check out their final episode, where host and former Atlanta Falcons player Dominique Foxworth talks to Matt Ryan about the Falcons' Super Bowl loss and how he prepared for the current season. Visit Gatorade.com/podcast to listen now or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Here we are. We're Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. There have been many of them this morning at a little juncture in the sports universe where everything is just completely crazy. You couldn't have more stuff going on, and so much of it is the extremely unusual Friday. All the usual stuff, like a bunch of really good football games yesterday, and some huge upsets on Saturday, and some terrible injuries yesterday, which are bad but normal.
Right.
And then you got baseball playoffs that are going on, which are great. Great pitching duel last night in the Bronx. Both those American League series keep going, so you got 4 games today, so that's terrific. And then you've got the vice president walking out of a football game, and you've got an offensive line coach snorting powder and videotaping it himself and sending it out, and it winds up getting on Facebook and everything else. So it is just a bunch of craziness going on.
It really is. That's why it's fun to concentrate on what's on the field, even though we'll certainly talk about off the field. But think about it. We have 4 baseball games today and a Monday Night Football that's going to see the second pick overall make his first start in Mitch Trubisky. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to.
We got great sports.
Yep.
On the baseball, we have Buster Olney earlier this morning, and I want you to hear this. It's getting a lot of attention that he said it, and Buster is about as connected to this as you can be. And look, we both know Joe Girardi.
Yes,
We've known him for a long time. We did a March of Dimes event with him 4 years ago, whenever it was, where we got a chance to chat.
We're fans of him.
And
we are.
I'm also predisposed to like him because he went to Northwestern, which is my alma mater. And, you want to be a manager. I mean, I was having breakfast Saturday morning looking over all the reaction. I was in Manhattan as I was in the city. The reaction to the game that he had on Friday night, where, look, he just had a terrible game. There's no two ways about it. He made pitching decisions that worked out terribly, which is normal managerial stuff. It happens. And then he doesn't challenge a call that completely changes the outcome of the game and probably the series.
Yes.
And, that's what else can you say? It's a disaster. I mean, it's just a terrible mistake, but it's just a mistake. I mean, people make mistakes. He gets booed like crazy last night in the Bronx, and you'll hear, I hope this has the whole back and forth it does. With Buster this morning, we asked him about what tonight's game and the rest of this series might mean for Girardi's future.
I don't think that he'll be back. You just wonder how much he enjoys this job. If I were a friend of Girardi, I've known him for 20 years, and if we were friends, I'd say, would you rather be doing something else? He told reporters before the game last night that whatever happens, whatever decisions is made, he'll live with it. But the one thing we haven't heard out of Joe's mouth is, and of course his contract is set to expire at the end of this year, I want to be back. I want this job. I wonder about that, and if I had to guess, I think this is it for him.
I want to be clear. Are you saying that you believe he will not be back and that will be his decision, or he will not be back and that will be a decision made for him?
I think there's as much chance that he walks away as there is that the Yankees would fire him.
Was amazing to me for a guy who was a Yankee, for a guy that his first year as manager was 2008, and since that time the Yankees are the winningest team in Major League Baseball, averaging 91 wins a year, that he would choose to not come back as a manager if he was offered the gig. That would stun me, quite honestly. That would stun me. And I think if he's offered the gig, he's staying. That's just me personally. Kind of the ball player in you says that you wouldn't walk away from that. But who knows where that's going to go? Will he be, given another deal or not? I mean, I don't know. We know what type of manager he is, but he's a by the numbers guy. We've talked about that. It was a horrific mistake he made on Friday night, but I think they're moving on.
But does it erase everything?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a great year this year.
Yes, they did.
This was a team that
and a team that wasn't supposed to be this year, right? No. I mean, this is a team
ahead of schedule.
That was on the come for sure.
They made some big trades around the trade deadline that bolstered what they were doing. Look, they still might win. I know that you will jokingly say, "Now the Indians have this." No, you never know.
No, you're right.
You know, Luis Severino will pitch for them tonight with their season on the line, and the last time that happened, he only lasted a third of an inning.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. I think he is an excellent manager, but I also think, and we both, again, have been around him, he's a very intense person. And that personality and that market, I mean, managing that team, it's like dog years, right? So every year you manage the Yankees, it's like managing almost any other team for 7. And so in some ways, he's been the manager of the Yankees for 70 years. And, you know, there's just a lot of pressure for a person who internalizes a lot of that stuff. So, you know, maybe he does just decide, you know what, I don't want this anymore, and takes a little time away. And he was a very good broadcaster when he was a broadcaster.
Yeah, I don't think he's done managing
for a couple of years.
Any stretch of the imagination.
But you do what a lot of these guys do.
Take a breath.
You take a year or two, and you broadcast, and then you go back into it somewhere. Right. So I wouldn't be stunned. I hadn't thought about it, but when Buster said it, I'm not stunned.
If he chose to not manage the Yankees, I would be a little surprised. I would personally be a little surprised if he was offered a deal and, you know, it was enough money where he would want to do it, not lowballed or anything, where he thinks, oh, this is a good deal money-wise, and he chose to not manage them.
Remember, that's how it ended for Torrey. With Torrey, it wasn't as though they fired him, but they made him an offer that he basically interpreted as, this is what the offer you make me because you want me to go.
Right. Okay. That's a different story. I would agree with that if you make it to where, like, okay, I know what the writing here means, so be it. I'm saying if it's a decent offer, money-wise, they want him back and make him a good offer and he chooses not to come back, I would be surprised.
So that's one of the big storylines in the baseball today. Remember, all 4 games on today's schedule. A thrilling day to be a fan of sports in Chicago with an afternoon game at Wrigley Field and then a night game at Soldier Field that features the debut of Mitchell Trubisky. So all eyes, Mike, will be from a football standpoint tonight. Yeah. It's an interesting and important game. Vikings should get Sam Bradford back, but then a lot of eyes, whether you think the Bears are going to win any games this year or not, all eyes will be on Trubisky.
Yeah, this isn't about Trubisky leading the Bears back into the playoff hunt, you know, after the first quarter of the year is done. This is about, okay, this is the start of the Mitchell Trubisky era. How is it going to start? That's where we are. So there's the excitement and more anticipation of how is he going to look? Is it going to be an extension of the preseason where people liked what he was doing? How is he going to progress? And this is the start of it tonight. So, you know, obviously you're watching the Cubs, hoping for the win there, the World Series defending champs. But for the Bears, it's more the anticipation of, boy, we kind of get a peek into what we may be getting in the future.
How big was that home run by Bryce Harper Saturday night?
Oh, my God.
Holy smoke.
Huge.
That series felt over.
Yeah, it sure did.
I mean, that felt over. That building, you could feel it. That series felt totally over. And with that one swing, and then it's followed up by the 3-run shot by Zimmerman. Right. But that one swing of the bat by Harper completely transforms the series. All right, so again, 4 baseball games today, and we'll look forward to that. Mike and Mike brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade to shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today. One other thing I want to play for you, because we haven't gotten to it all morning, with a Nick Saban comment of the other night, where his team doesn't win with the style points that they were expected to. Now, this is a day where Oklahoma loses at home to Iowa State. Mm-hmm. They were a 30-something point favorite. Michigan loses at home to Michigan State, a game they were absolutely expected to win. Now, they turned the ball over repeatedly in that second half, and it was a monsoon. I mean, they were playing in a rainstorm. But whatever, they lose. Alabama wins, though not necessarily in the fashion you might have expected, beating Texas A&M 27-19.
Right.
And afterwards, Nick Saban, he said this.
I'm trying to get our players to listen to me instead of listening to you guys. You know, all that stuff you write about how good we are and all that stuff they hear on ESPN, it's like poison. You know what I mean? It's like taking poison. Like rat poison. All right, so I'm asking them, are you going to listen to me or are you going to listen to these guys about how good you are? All right, just like your question right now, we get stopped 3 out of 4 times, like that's a bad thing? We're not going to beat everybody 66-3.
No, the problem is everybody expects you to beat everyone 66-3. So, in irony, to have a guy explain it a little bit, on Weekends Observations, where my son does a show with Stu Gotts was off coaching his girls in lacrosse. So, sitting in, Mike did the show with Barrett Jones. Barrett Jones is one of the most decorated offensive linemen to come out of college football. He played at Alabama. Mike knew Barrett before that. Mike and Barrett played on the same team in the Army High School All-American game. They were together. They got to know each other there. And then the next time they saw each other, Barrett was on the offensive line and Mike wasn't on the offensive line, sideline, 2012 national championship game. And Barrett's got himself a couple of championship rings and a bunch of honors as well, as an offensive lineman. And so they played that, and Mike asked Barrett, so what does that mean? What did Nick Saban deep down, on the inside when he does that, with the media? And Barrett said a lot of that is joking around with the media. He said the media, they all get along great. He said a lot of that is just they know that's Nick Saban. He said Nick Saban laughs a lot with those guys and it's kind of a joke back and forth. He says, but I'll tell you this. He says it's interesting when the media tells you how good they are, Nick tells us don't listen to them. But when the media, if we don't do well, tells us how bad we are, then Nick wants us to listen to them. He says it's pretty interesting how that works. He said, but that's a coach. He said that's kind of.
I was about to say it's called coaching.
But he said Nick is he said the media like him, enjoy him. It always sounds contentious, but he says those guys are laughing a lot as well. They kind of know how Nick is, and kind of behind. He gave a really nice kind of behind the scenes look at Nick Saban about, and then he talked about obviously on the practice field and the process and the whole deal. That's the big term with Nick Saban and getting his players ready.
I'm trying to think. If you think about the great coaches, the really great, super elite coaches in any sport, how many of them weren't crusty? Most of the great coaches are just crusty. And I think that kind of goes with it. I think if you can be satisfied, if you can ever sort of feel happy and fulfilled, you can't be a great coach, because the very fabric, the fabric's not the right word I'm looking for. Like, you have to be never satisfied to continue striving for excellence.
That was good, not good enough.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like Pat Riley, who was a great coach, said there's winning and there's misery. And he would reflect much more on the losing and the misery than on the winning.
All do.
Now, Phil Jackson was a little different. He had a little sort of different way of going about it. But if you were around him, he could be pretty crusty, too. Popovich is obviously crusty.
Yeah.
Belichick is as crusty as it gets. Saban is as crusty as it gets. Gino Auriemma is as crusty as it gets. Who is the mild, easygoing coach?
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, he's not on that level.
No, I know that. But
I'm talking about the great coaches, the super Hall of Fame coaches that was sort of the milder mannered.
John Wooden?
Yeah, John Wooden was. I don't know what his demeanor was like. It was just such a different era. I don't know what his demeanor was like.
Look where we're going back.
Right. Yeah, his players loved him.
Yeah, players did.
Krzyzewski, even Mike Krzyzewski has got a little bit of that in him. Like he's also has the really warm side to him.
He does. Of all the ones,
he can get cranky.
But of all the ones you mentioned, he would be the one that would be the least crusty.
Yeah.
Of all the ones you mentioned.
He's less crusty than any other.
Yes.
Bob Knight, super crusty. Right. Bill Parcells,
there.
Super crusty.
Super. Yeah.
Right. So the crustiness sort of goes with the territory. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got all of that, and then of course there's all the stuff around the NFL yesterday. You want to do on the field or off the field, because we got to get to them both. Let's do a little on.
Yeah, let's do on.
Let's do a little bit of on the field stuff from the football yesterday. It is being suggested by Ryan Clark that Aaron Rodgers, watching yesterday's performance, is the best quarterback of all time. And we basically opened the program this morning by citing the distinction between being the GOAT and being the BOAT. So Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He's the most accomplished quarterback.
Right.
That's not, in my opinion, that isn't an opinion. It is just an analysis of what a person has accomplished. And in my opinion, I believe that is just a statement of fact. He's the greatest quarterback of all time because of what he's done. If you want to get into who you think is the best, that's a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
And you could make an argument for Rodgers as the BOAT.
One of the questions always comes down to, if you had one game to play, who would you want to be your quarterback? What would the list be then? Because you're right, Brady is the most accomplished. We're going to have to wait a while until someone gets more accomplished than that, if it ever happens. And oh, by the way, he's a great quarterback as well. He's accomplished and he's great, because people will bring up the early Super Bowls. They were more led by the defense, and too much is probably put on the rings and a quarterback because there is offense, defense, special teams, and the whole deal. I get all that. But Tom Brady is a great quarterback. There's no denying that, and the most accomplished quarterback. But I think that question comes down to, I don't care what game it is, Super Bowl, playoff game, regular season, a game. Here's a game. You get to pick a quarterback who you want to play that position. there's no doubt Aaron Rodgers is going to get some votes. I mean, without question. And I make the comparison sometimes with LeBron James and Michael Jordan. While most still say Michael Jordan's the better player overall, LeBron James will say, well, LeBron's a better athlete. LeBron is bigger. LeBron's stronger. LeBron's faster. LeBron can cover more people, can do more things, but that Jordan would be still the greatest player. Well, that'd be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a better athlete than Tom Brady. He can do more than Tom Brady. He's got a stronger arm than Tom Brady.
He's also lost a lot more playoff games than Tom Brady.
He absolutely has.
I mean, the bottom line, Rodgers, he's phenomenal.
Right.
Phenomenal. I would agree he's the most spectacular player I've ever watched play that position in his own way. He's ridiculously good. The combination of first and foremost his accuracy, his arm strength, his ability to do it on the run, all those things. But I just, while you were talking, just pulled up the playoff history of the Packers going back through their era. They've lost a lot of games that you would have thought they might win. They've lost a bunch of home playoff games. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the guy.
No.
But that has to go into the equation somewhere,
too. It absolutely does, because Brady doesn't. Brady wins them. And you want to talk about one-dimensional. I mean, he's in the pocket. Peyton Manning, there are guys that are just in the pocket.
Yeah.
And what they do is when they're getting pressure, they'll go down and fight another play. Where guys like Aaron Rodgers will escape, make something happen with their legs, or throw it on the run and amaze you that way. They have more in their arsenal than guys like Tom Brady. But Tom Brady does what he does so well. And the one thing that can't be underrated with either one of these guys is what they do from the neck up. I mean, how good they are at dissecting what they see before the play even starts.
Look, Rodgers is ridiculously good. But to try and diminish Brady because there are some things he doesn't do, he's made that not matter. Like, you never watch a game and say, well, you know, if Brady could only have run, they would have won 7 Super Bowls. I mean, bottom line, Wes Welker drops a pass, David Tyree makes the miracle catch of all time, or Brady might have 7 championships to his name. You look at someone like at someone like the other accomplishments that he has. He's done it all in every way that really matters. But Rodgers is ridiculously good, but there are a lot of other people who have been ridiculously good. I think you have to take into account the performance in big games and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the most important thing that a quarterback does is put his team in a position to win, right? That's the most important thing a quarterback can do. And he's done it over an incredibly long period of time with a variety of different people and players around him.
It actually adds to what I said, Michael Jordan and LeBron. It goes to these guys just printed up, and they're right. It goes a lot because LeBron has questionable playoff losses as well, just like Aaron Rodgers does, as opposed to Tom Brady, who has won everything, and Jordan, who has won everything.
Jordan never didn't play great in the biggest spots. The single best thing he has going for him in the argument, and I think it is what separates him from everybody, is that Jordan, if you look back at years they didn't win, meaning prior to when they started winning, they weren't the better team. They weren't expected to win. They shouldn't have won. And the games they didn't win, you never looked at it and said, well, if only Jordan had played better, they would have won. You've got some of those from LeBron.
Right.
You have some of those with almost everyone.
Yes, you do.
But that's kind of what Jordan never had. He never didn't have that. He was magnificent. Scottie Pippen had a migraine. Jordan was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Jordan scored 63 points in a playoff loss to Boston, but the Celtics were a much better team.
And, and what you can't control is when the other team guy makes a great catch.
Right.
Like happened against, Brady. Even in this last Super Bowl, Brady didn't have a great first half, but then talk about doing your thing,
and then he was down 28-3 and he won.
And that what does that say? I mean, it's just incredible.
You can't. So to me, again, he's the GOAT. You want to have a discussion about Aaron Rodgers as the BOAT? You could do that. The Steelers are fascinating to me. 5 interceptions from Ben yesterday. His comments afterwards about maybe I'm losing it. Something's not right there. And again, I don't have any way of knowing what it is, but you heard Ryan Clark talking about it, who was a longtime Steeler. And that is just that organization, which is the model of consistency and calm, just even keeled, starting at the very top of the organization. It's just been a wavy time in Pittsburgh right now with a variety of different things. Some of them normal, some of them obviously very abnormal with Alejandro Villanueva and everything else.
Right.
And the sum total of it is they just don't look right. They just don't look good.
They don't. That's a blue-collar town, blue-collar team. You always thought of the Steelers, that hard-hitting team, that could run the ball well and play great defense here. They can obviously throw it as well with Ben and Antonio Brown. But between Le'Veon Bell in preseason, not holding out. He just didn't show up. And some of the tweets going on there to Antonio Brown and some of his antics from last year and this year. And I'll say more and more about Ben. Ben being we always kind of give Ben a hard time. If Ben turns an ankle, he'll make sure you know about it, and talk about his injuries and such. But when you bring it up to the career thing, I'm not sure I'm going to play. Thinking about retirement. And what has he said now? I'm taking it year to year. In my opinion, that's a tough thing. Because looking at it from a player, so if he has a bad game, now what's going through his mind? It's probably going to be my last year. Is it? I don't know. But he brought it up to make you question it.
I get it.
Is what he did.
But I never feel like we had those conversations about Favre when every single year he wasn't sure if he was going to come back and play, and every single year they had to kind of beg him to come back and play. And then he came back and played, and when he played badly, we never said, well, maybe it's because he's thinking
he came back
of
with
retiring.
Different teams.
No, even in Green Bay for a couple of years. I mean, one of the reasons they drafted Aaron Rodgers, remember, was because he kept hinting at the fact that he may be done. Yeah, with the Jets and then with Minnesota.
Right.
Absolutely. But even then, even in Green, he was always kind of on the fence. Do I want to do? Now, I think most people thought he just didn't want to be at training camp.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah.
But it does feel real with Ben.
It does.
Look, Favre was playing in an era where we weren't worried about head injuries, and Ben is playing in an era where he is.
Where we are, yeah.
And he gets hit a lot. And maybe it's as simple as that, too. All right, so there's the on-the-field stuff. There's the more commonplace on-the-field stuff with a couple of brutal injuries with enormous impacts yesterday. We'll get to those.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
James Harrison tweets at us, for one game I want Brady, for one play I'll take Rodgers. So we're parsing it down that far at this point.
What play?
Yeah, I mean, look, Rodgers is tremendous.
Yeah.
He is an historically great quarterback. I think, however, I don't want to pull the reins on his greatness, but he's still a work in progress. I think if you were to stop right now, if his career stopped right now, and he's talking about playing for many more years to come, but if his career stopped right now, and Brady is going to retire as the greatest quarterback of all time,
yes.
Rodgers wouldn't be up there. Rodgers is not surpassed on the list of overall greatness.
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer.
He's walking into the Hall of Fame. We understand that. But there are a lot of different levels of that stuff. And I mean, right now, he doesn't go ahead of Elway on the all-time historical list of great quarterbacks. He doesn't go ahead of Montana.
No, and again, a lot of that is based on what they've accomplished, and I understand that, but there are those that will just take the individual skills of a quarterback, and some will put him pretty high up there.
Does he go ahead of Favre? Does he go ahead of the guy he replaced? I mean, he hasn't won as many games. No. His numbers his efficiency is 1 trillion times better. He's a
Way
different
better.
player. They're
Yes,
both
he is.
ridiculously skilled and talented, and they both, at this point, have won Super Bowl championship. Who would I take between them? I'd take Rodgers.
I'd take Rodgers as well.
But if you look at their historical accomplishments,
I'm with you. Yeah.
They are what they are. Brett Warren tweets, who's the best target Rodgers has had to throw to versus Brady? Brady's best targets for 1 year was Randy Moss. Yeah, for a very brief period of time he had Moss.
And he had Gronk while he's been healthy, without question. But as far as receivers,
he had Welker and he had Edelman, who were like these slot guys that he turned into all-time greats. I mean, Welker put up numbers that were ridiculous. But if you're talking about
number one receivers, he had Randy Moss was by far his best one for the year. Aaron Rodgers, going through all the players that Aaron Rodgers had.
We had Donald Driver. Yeah. He had why am I forgetting his name? The guy who played with Driver, he got hurt in the Super Bowl. Greg Jennings.
Oh, Greg Jennings, right,
terrific player. I mean, he's had a lot of good receivers.
He has, yeah.
I don't think we're going to separate Brady and Rodgers by their teammates. Other tweets on different topics. A lot of people are suggesting that the reason that Girardi might walk away from the Yankees is to go manage the Miami Marlins and work for Derek Jeter. They were teammates, of course.
They were. You're right.
And then he managed Jeter. So
probably a little less pressure going down and being the manager in Miami, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, Jeter is what he is. Be interesting because their manager right now is Don Mattingly. So in theory, if Jeter wanted to get rid of Mattingly could go back and manage the Yankees for whom he was
Girardi
an icon.
Could go manage
and
Miami.
Girardi could go back. Now remember, Girardi was the manager of the Marlins once upon a time. I believe he won Manager of the Year and left that same season. So we'll see where that winds up. And then this one, just because I kind of like it. Dre, and a lot of people are tweeting this, In a season in which the Jets were supposed to be tanking, the Giants are going to get the first pick in the draft and get Sam Darnold. Wouldn't that be something? Let me ask you a question. If you're the Giants talent evaluator,
Darnold just now.
Because of him or because of Eli?
I'd ease off of Sam Darnold because of Sam Darnold.
Okay,
right now.
that's so he remains number one on the boards of both Mel and McShay from what we've seen. He's not perfect. He's a college kid. He's not supposed to be.
No quarterback
perfect.
Comes in perfect.
So my question to you is, if you're the Giants and you wind up with the number one pick in the draft, which I don't think will happen because if you watch the Browns play, the Giants are going to win more games I think than they are. But you never know. Let's say the Giants wind up with the number one pick in the draft, and I'm giving you these three options. You are whoever replaces Jerry Reese as their general manager, which is what I think is going to happen. You can, A, take Saquon Barkley, because your team has no running game whatsoever, and he'll help, even though the line is a problem. You can, B, trade it, because teams are going to give you a lot for that pick if there's a big quarterback there. Or C, if you like one of the quarterbacks a lot, take him. Because Eli Manning is 37 years old, and it's time to start really addressing the future. And if you've got a guy there that you think is a franchise quarterback, then you get a situation kind of like what they had in Indianapolis, and kind of like what they had in Green Bay, and kind of like what they once upon a time had in San Francisco, where you hand it off from one great quarterback to another.
A lot why I can't answer that is I would need to see what they did in free agency before the draft. Did they get a running back in free agency? Did they upgrade the offensive line in free agency? Because the one thing I'm not going to do is forsake the possibility of what you can have now. If you can have something now, you put a lot into your defense. Your defense should be better than what they are. Maybe they will be again with some of the talent that you have there. So that's what I would say. How much work goes in before the draft to address their needs on the offensive side?
But if you have the first pick, you can make that decision. Like, you can decide what you do in free agency knowing that you have the first pick, so you'll be able to do whatever you want with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know who's available. If I get the guys I want in free agency, if I say I want that guy at running back, I want this guy on the offensive line, and I get all that, then I'll really think about taking a quarterback. If I got, Shepard coming back and I got Odell, absolutely, paying him and I can improve the O-line, and you have to. I mean, you have to go in with your eyes wide open and say, this O-line needs help. We need a better running back. We need a better rushing attack. Because Eli, given the right equipment around him, I think can still be a really good quarterback. So if you get all that stuff, if you target that stuff and get it, I take a quarterback. If you don't, and that quarterback better rate. I'm talking 96, 97 or up in your number evaluation of him to say this is going to be the next guy.
Because
then why am I taking him? I have a guy who's probably going to go into the Hall of Fame. I can get a few more years out of him. If I'm not completely, it has to be where if I get that guy, I'm sold. Now, again, you don't know because he's not going to play, and I'm not saying as sold as a Peyton Manning, as an Andrew Luck, though you'd love that. You'd love to be that sold. It's got to be damn near close. Okay? And I have no idea where these guys are going to value it. We still have more season to watch of these guys. I got to be pretty darn sure. But if I don't get any of that stuff in free agency, then I'm looking long and hard at Saquon Barkley. And saying, okay, I'm going to get a running back here. I know I still need to improve the O-line, but what this kid can do running the ball, what this kid can do catching out of the backfield, I can't pass that up.
I would say this. The Giants are staring 0-7 square in the face.
Yes, they are.
Because they're at Denver and then home with Seattle. Then they have a bye. So they are staring 0-7 square in the face. Who would have imagined this would be the way their season would go? This time tomorrow we'll be talking with Louis Riddick in our studio here on Mike and Mike. We'll be talking about, I'm sure, among other things, what the Dolphins decided to do about Chris Foerster, their offensive line coach, who in a video that was released on a woman's Facebook page last night is seen snorting a white powder off a table before a meeting. The Dolphins have said in a statement, we were just aware of the video. We'll have no comment at this time. The Miami Herald reported, citing league sources, there'll be an investigation into the video, and Foerster's future with the team's expected to be determined as early as today. Chris Mortensen was in our studio earlier saying that he has the number for Chris Foerster, called him, and that Chris Foerster hung up on him. we wait and see what the decision is of the Dolphins. If you've seen the video, and I have, we don't have the right to. We're not allowed to show it to you. It's not been approved. But there isn't any question who it is. There isn't any question what's going on. There isn't any question about what he's saying.
Right.
Seems impossible to imagine that he winds up being on that coaching staff going forward.
It does to me. The only way outside of that, if he would already have gone to the Dolphins and say, I'll take a leave of absence for the year and I need help and hopefully I'll be around next year. If he's gone that far, and I have no idea what he's done. Me personally, I can't see him being on that staff anymore at all.
Well, if this let's connect the dots here, and sometimes this is dangerous to do. But if we take all the things we think we know as facts, the Dolphins were not aware of this video and thus not aware that he had any problem. So if him coming to them and saying, I have a problem and I need help comes after the release of this video and not before, then that's a different circumstance as well, right?
Sitting in front of your boss, what if he's saying, I didn't realize I had a problem until I got to look at that video and thought, wow, you know what? I need help. I have a problem. I mean, there are ways, and we know what some guys may try to do.
It. No, I understand. What you're saying is right.
If you're asking me, I don't think there's any ways on that coaching staff anymore, whether it's a leave of absence for this year or fired. He's not going to be on this year. And then it'll just be a matter of, does the league then get involved and say he's going to be suspended because the league has suspended coaches before for acts like this, DUIs and things like that. So would he get another job? Again, he's been with 8 teams since 1992. Would he get another gig? That would be the question then, and what penalty we'd have to serve if he has to from the league. But I doubt he'll be with the Miami Dolphins anymore.
Remember, coaches don't have the same kind of union fighting for their rights either. And if you harken back, for example, to something like in Bountygate,
right,
where the players got suspensions and the union fought for them like crazy and stuff got overturned. Sean Payton sat out the year.
Yep.
He was suspended for the year and missed the year because he didn't have a union fighting for him like crazy. So we'll see. We came in this morning and we said,
stunning.
You think to yourself you've seen everything, and then suddenly you see this.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll see it on video. I mean, knowingly taping himself doing this while talking to a woman.
It is, by the way, very much NSFW. If you're planning on Googling this, be careful where it is that you watch it.
Yes.
Because the video is most certainly not suitable for work. All right. That's one of the big off-the-field stories. There are others. We've got those to get to.
Is that what NSW is? I didn't know what that was. Not suitable for work?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's what it means.
Well, I mean, I know.
It's not safe for work?
Not suitable for work.
It's either way. Don't watch it at work.
Yeah.
It's NSFW because you got issues if you watch that at work.
Okay.
That's what it means.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It's not safe or not suitable. I thought it was not suitable for work.
New.
You know what? I'm going to go with suitable because I think it actually
suitable.
Tells the story better.
Suitable is better.
Yeah, because
I agree with that.
Your safety is not compromised if you watch it at work.
Your safety is not compromised at all.
But it's not suitable.
Not suitable. Mike, reminding you, if you miss any of the show, including Jeff's Saturday in Hour 2, you can listen to all 4 hours of Mike and Mike On Demand in the ESPN app. Now you can subscribe to our Best of podcasts, all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Okay, I am told we do have the video we've been talking about this morning with the Dolphins offensive line coach, Chris Foerster, the video that appears to be of him. I want to start it with a warning. We were joking around about whether the S in NSFW stands for suitable or safe. It doesn't really matter. For these purposes, this is something that is going to be viewed by many as graphic and to some, I suppose, even offensive. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. If you don't want to see this, this would be a good time to change the channel. If you have children watching and you don't want them to see it, it would be a good time to change the channel. This is part of a 56-second video in which a man identified, again, as Chris Foerster, who is the Dolphins offensive line coach, is seen using a bill to snort a powdery substance off a table while speaking into the camera, saying about, among other things, how about me going to a meeting and doing this before I go? The Miami Herald is reporting that the video appears to have been taken in one of the Dolphins' offices. The team is said to be looking into the video. That's what we have so far, and here is the video for those of you watching with us on ESPN2. You are seeing it. Again, those listening on ESPN Radio, we can't show it to you, but it is incredibly easy to find with a simple Google search right now.
Yeah, and it's very easy to see that it is him doing it and what he is doing. I mean, I don't really think there's going to be any kind of an argument or battle for him to say, no, that's not what you think it is. It's pretty apparent.
The little clip we just showed there, if you watch it in its entirety, you do actually see the powdery substance and you see it disappear.
Yeah.
So there is no question of that. In theory, I suppose there could be some question as to what the powdery substance is. We cannot tell you with certainty what it is. You certainly can imagine.
That's
what
just us covering all our bases here. I think we all know what's going on here.
And there feels like there's very little mystery about what's happening.
Very little mystery, and very little mystery as far as I'm concerned about what's going to happen. You know, he's going to be fired. You know, what happens from there, I don't know. As far as him seeking help, wanting help, the Dolphins helping him, I have no idea, no clue about that. But I think I'd be pretty safe to say that he's not working for the Miami Dolphins anymore. I mean, especially if it is not that it makes it any better, but I guess if he's doing it in the workplace as opposed to out on his own time, if he's in his workplace,
that's way worse.
Getting ready to go to a meeting,
right?
And you're off a table in your workplace.
It is way worse. I mean, if you have a drug problem and that is somehow exposed, and you're a coach in the National Football League, that's a problem. If you are videotaping yourself using drugs,
well, that's the thing for me.
Facility,
you are videotaping yourself using the drugs. Again, trying to impress a woman, and the woman ends up, posting this, on her Facebook page. So. Didn't impress very well, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I am going to say I don't know. He's not going to be working for the Dolphins. I don't think this is going to be – I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of gray area going on here. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of argument other than – and then for him to try and say, you know what, after seeing the video, I think I have a problem and I need help. I need you guys to help me. I don't know. But he's not going to be working for the Dolphins anymore.
Okay, I would agree with that. We are going to run out of time here without being able to do justice to the other story. So let's instead do a bunch of predictions sure to go wrong.
All right.
Because we got a ton of games. Okay, so let's start with this one. We will be back in Better Than Ever tomorrow morning. Same time, same place, usual stuff. Let's do the baseball here. When we arrive, the Dodgers and Diamondbacks will have played Game 3 of their series. Dodgers are up 2-0. What will the situation be?
Over.
Golic says over, Dodgers win.
Over.
Cubs and Nationals are right now 1-1. They're playing Game 3 in Chicago this afternoon.
I think the Cubs win.
I do too.
I think they win.
Yeah. The miracle bounce back with the Harper home run, the Zimmerman home run really felt like, if anything, it could springboard that team to some life. But I believe the Cubs
you're getting
will win.
a loose crew on Joe Madden team. With the Cubs.
How healthy is Scherzer is the question. He would have pitched Game 1 if he was 100% fine. If Scherzer is lights out, then that obviously changes the equation. American League, Yankees kept it alive with their win last night. They try and do it again this evening, Golic says.
Just stop it.
Indians win?
It's over.
That's Golic's team.
Over. Let's call it a day.
Does Severino get out of the first inning?
Oh, I hope he does, quite honestly.
Even you as an Indians
fan. As uncomfortable as me watching,
let
alone anything else. So, but I think Indians win.
Bauer and Severino. Bauer on short rest.
Severino,
who's the Yankees' best pitcher. Look, there's got to be one way of looking at it if you're Severino. It can't get worse.
Cannot get worse.
I think the Yankees are going to win.
You know what would be worse is if before he threw his first pitch, they were warming up in the bullpen. That'd be a bad sign.
I think the Yankees are going to win the game tonight. So I will take them. What did I forget? Oh, Boston.
Houston and Boston.
Red Sox at home against
I just
the
hope
Astros.
it's under 5 runs. And it's a decent game. Houston, I think, wins the game.
It's an afternoon game at Fenway. I think the Red Sox are going to win.
You think it goes
Red
to
Sox
5?
are going to win. I think they're going the distance.
I think it's over
in that series. And then finally, tonight in Chicago, our FPI says the Vikings are an 8-point favorite at the Bears. Minnesota is only a 3.5-point favorite in Vegas. Mitchell Trubisky makes his debut for Chicago. Golic says,
tough for me to think that a rookie making his first start on Monday night is going to get a win, especially against a really good defense in Minnesota. So I'm going to go with Minnesota here and give the points.
Me too. All right, it should be great fun. Enjoy all the sports today, and we will be back in Better Than Ever. Same time, same place to talk about it tomorrow right here. Mike and Mike.